the procurement and bureaucracy is the problem, then you can easily fix procurement and bureaucracy. Everything that this government wants to do, they put it in parliament, come up with a bill, and then they got it through. And so therefore, if they want to fix procurement, them can do it. Look, for example, at the situation in St. Anne's, right? With the mining of the what the mountain the name? With the limestone mining.
Bengal. Yeah.
Right.
Jayaba Mountain.
Jayaba Mountain. Exactly. And when the Environmental Protection Agency ruled that this should not go through, Andrew Holness override them and allow the company say go and go mine. You see? So where bureaucracy is concerned, it's only out of convenience. When Darrell Valls wanted to get in Starlink, him get it in. When he wanted to get in bus, him get it in. There's no bureaucracy there. So
and he also stated that if him get the opportunity, he will do it again. So,
right. To me,
but this yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The reconstruction of the West is necessary. And we have agency there that can do it. If we want to do what PJ did, we can do that, but we need to have it streamlined, specific, and have a sunset date into it. Then it will be for the purpose of it is. But NARRA right now is just a big monstrosity where there's no control. And so I am totally against NARRA. Go ahead, Focus.
But if you not go ahead and do the thing right, if you not do the thing right, court case don't go further will up any kind of reconstruction or they might try to do.
Exactly.
Because if they try to take people land, all of them sit there to go to court and a further break tape and roadblock. It better than just come good and done and make the thing work good.
That's right.
You hit a good point right there about taking people land. Because of the fact that a lot of people don't read the bill, so they don't know what's in the bill. You see the fine print them were in the bill. We give the government the totalitarian power over you, over everybody else, over anything where you own, and them want it, they can go and take it. You see? And nobody can say nothing to them. So me is 100% against NARRA.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, well said.
I am not against NARRA in its entirety, because the concept of rebuilding and to build with a resilience code is okay. It is how it is structured and how the government structured and put all the authority and all the power and in a one-man hand. That is the section of it which I have a problem with. You understand? I don't have a problem with the rebuilding, because lots of things in our country need to be built and to be rebuilt. It's just that the concentration of power is where I have a problem without oversight. You understand? You don't want to have a high concentration of power in the executive arm, headed by the Prime Minister, who is the line minister for Growth and Development Ministry, and the CEO. I would have expected that you would have a bridge between NARRA and state agencies outside of the office of the Prime Minister with pure independent authority, so that project can be expedited, but not at the detriment of the state agency, as what has been done in Bengal. in sentence. That is what we have. That is what we have a problem with, not the concept of building, because there is a whole lot of things in the country need to be rebuilt. And if we are going to build it that with proper oversight, that would be what the Jamaican people is clamoring for. So we don't want it to be said that PNP is against NARRA in its entirety, because its entirety is not what we are what we are up against or what we are against totally.
Let me ask you a question. So you said that you only disagree with that one part. You agree with the part where if the whistleblower come out and say something about some shenanigans that's going on, that whistleblower should go to prison, and the person who them inform.
No, man. That's why I said there should be a bridge. That is where the problem in the concept of NARA, the rebuilding aspect of it is fine. It's just that how it is, the conceptualize giving power to one person and bringing in secrecy clause and indemnity clause. Those are the type of things which I am totally against. I am totally against anything where you have to sign NDA, where government money is concerned, and the high concentration of power in one person's hand. That's what I have a problem with. But I could not have a problem with NARA building a bridge, building a school, or building some form of infrastructure in the country. You understand? Because the country will have to be developed by irrespective of whichever government is in power.
So Mr. Blair, say this to you. There was no company there that was doing that work, or maybe just want to be improved and continue.
That
they have to go for NARA.
That is what Colin mentioned earlier, that they are state agency. They are UDC, which could do all of the construction, right? They bypass UDC and create NARA. But at the same time, the problem which NARA create now is that NARA becomes the person who issue the contract, do the procurement, do everything. You understand? And when they are doing that, there is no oversight. You see, if they had oversight, that people are held accountable, you can know how the contracts are awarded. Because look at NARA. What NARA does, is that every contract which is issued will be issued by the chief executive officer, which is appointed by the prime minister. So you could automatically say the prime minister is the one who will authorize who get the contract, yes or no. Those are the things we have a problem with.
And Mr. Blair, with his behavior in Parliament yesterday with him and his wife, it shows what's gonna be happening if he be the ruler of all those things.
Well, you see things like those now is what we call conflict of interest, and things like those should be avoided. It is never. Well, let me answer Shabian first before you come in, Roach. It is never good for you and your significant other to work at the same place unless both of you own the company. You understand? That is not it's called. It is conflict of interest. Where because what happened in Parliament yesterday was that the Prime Minister, as head of the executive arm of government, want to impose on the Parliament, which is the first part of the three arm of government, by asking the Speaker to rule that Mark Golding was disruptive to the debate. You understand? That's what he wanted from the.
And just a quick interjection, Mr. Blair, that is stepping outside of his purview, outside of his power, outside of his authority to tell the Speaker what to rule.
Exactly, because there should be
he didn't even wait to be acknowledged
separation of power.
Yeah.
There should be clear separation of power. You understand?
Yeah, but what if you look power calling aside Mr. Blair, is the whole concept about NARA, Yes, Colin is not talking about reconstruction so much, It's the whole transparency. So, you know,
Yeah,
so that,
no, I understand what Colin said,
so
but
me agree.
you
You see that
cannot make
same breakdown
a
right
whole
now, I
state.
totally
You
agree with
cannot
you.
make a whole. You cannot make a whole state statement. You must put things in context. Because if you say that you're totally against NARA, that means you say you're against whatsoever NARA is about.
But I did.
No, 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 no.
But if you're doing something, Mr. Blair,
I think the issue is, we all agree we're not against a reconstruction program. It doesn't have to be NARA. We all agree that reconstruction is
Exactly.
needed.
Exactly.
Right.
you
Reconstruction
know
is
why I
needed.
agree with Colin, because
But
Colin not,
in the first sorry Roach, in the first instance, right? I think everybody was of the view that NARA was established to rebuild the affected areas of the
Yep.
hurricane.
Yep. But no, we're no hearing it's a national thing.
That is what
If
I
if I
think everybody was
if
thinking.
if I may just respond to Alexia in the chat, who is asking if the current or several oversight committees are insufficient enough. And he mentioned the PAC and the PAAC and the Integrity Commission. And you could add the Auditor General as well. So let me just explain those four committees. Let me start with the Auditor General. First, the comment. The Auditor General does not have enough resources, whether financial or personnel, to audit the government itself, the government, ministries, departments, etc. They don't have enough. And to take on this mega project now, to audit them, they can only audit a percentage. They cannot audit the ministry or anything in its entirety. And they don't have the resources. So,
But
and
not only
that
that,
is
Comrade Blair.
audit them after the fact.
Yeah, right.
Because
That
in a
too, but not
NARA,
only that, the fact that Mara will be moving at such a fast pace, the auditor general wouldn't need a regular audit. He would need a real time audit, an audit that is
exactly,
done in the same time the
on
process.
a daily basis,
Exactly.
Yeah, and the Auditor General does not have the resources. All right, when it comes to the PAC and the PAAC, for anything to come to the Parliament where the PAC and the PAAC is concerned, you have to move a motion in Parliament. And with the government having a majority vote in Parliament, they can vote down the PAC and the PAAC intervention. They can. They can use their veto power so that nothing where NARA is concerned reach the Parliament. Because you have to put a motion before anything can come to Parliament under the PAC or the PAAC. And most time things come to the Parliament under PAC and PAAC is when the Auditor General do its report and publish its finding. The Integrity Commission, no, which is the last one he spoke of, is being labeled as an entity full of PNP and is almost a subdivision of the People's National Party. So you want now to say the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission cannot just go there and investigate. All of those agencies, Alexia, which you mentioned, will audit after the fact. After the ask and through the gate.
Alex J.A. Alex J.A. Yeah.
Alex, right. Because remember, the Auditor General sometime in 2024 said that $3 trillion is unaccounted for. She did not say it was stolen, it was lost or what. She said it was unaccounted for. The Ministry of Finance said that she will try and get under the documentation as it relates to the $3 trillion and make it public to show the public that those funds were not stolen, were not misappropriated or what. Until now, we have not heard anything. So don't tell us about those agencies. We want real-time accountability from a real-time constituted board,
But
which should form part of the legislation laid in Parliament. So
excuse
the
me, Uncle
NARA
Blair,
is
if it is
answerable to.
if
NARA
it
is
is
answerable to the board, and the board provide a bridge between the entity and state agency.
yes, so I was saying that you mentioned about the Integrity Commission or the Auditor General providing some information and up to date we have not received it. Is that what you said?
This is
No,
exactly.
no, the Ministry of Finance was supposed to
Oh, okay.
provide the
Yeah,
outstanding
yeah, the
documents
minute,
to the
yeah, that the
Auditor
minute,
General, and
right.
up to date, she hasn't received all those documents.
And exactly. And these are some of the reasons, these are some of the things that is suspect is going to happen where NARA is concerned. Because the
But
speed and
extreme,
the intention of what it is all about. We're not going to get any
extreme.
accountability coming out of it.
I think there's another key point that we're missing. There's another key point that we're all missing. Based on the fact that there's a secrecy clause, it also kills the IC and the Auditor General because both entities also rely on anonymous tips about corruption happening in a government entity. We've seen it. We've heard the Auditor General tell us that the audit that she did at the House of Parliament, it was an anonymous whistleblower that sent out documents or whatever that triggered that audit. So when there's a secrecy clause in the bill,
Likewise, the university issue as well. So a
exactly.
whistleblower.
So that's another side where we're not talking about enough either. Because when people like Alex can come and say the IC and the Auditor General, no problem, these are oversight bodies. But when you look in the bill, this bill specifically has clauses that kills the work of those oversight bodies.
Exactly.
Question, Mr.
And
Blair.
the bill, just 1 second, let me just say one question. The bill having it, which it said that NARA will provide its own audit, and it would take 4 months after the financial year, which would be 16 months before it can reach the Parliament. 16 months after the fact. So
There is nothing in the bill
16 months after the fact.
that forces
Yeah.
the
Eagle, you
CEO
did
of
not come in,
NARA.
or Roach.
I think Alex wants to say something. I'm not sure, but there's
Oh,
nothing in the
Alex.
bill
Okay.
that
Morning,
forces the
Alex.
CEO to
Yeah, man.
appear in front of the PAAC or the PAC. Nothing.
Exactly. Nothing is there.
Rocha try
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
Rocha try to say something now for about half hour.
All right.
Come on,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mr. Blair. All right. So,
Yeah, Alex.
all right. The NARA as it stands, then you just say we're looking at big catastrophic corruption, all sort of something with the current form of it. That is what is expected.
Any entity which is charged with the responsibility of spending trillions of dollars without proper oversight is leaving itself open for corruption, seen or foreseen.
Okay, so would this be damaging for the current government? Would it be something damaging, exposing, and this and that for the current government? Would you say that would more likely happen?
I am not too interested in the corruption where the government is concerned. What my point is to protect the taxpayers' money. That is where I'm concerned about. Because based on the question you asked, you would say that the opposition would benefit from corruption in the government. We are not looking at that. We are looking to protect the interests of taxpayer and taxpayers' money. That is where we are going.
Listen, there is no corruption in the bill. There are bills in the clauses that creates the atmosphere and opens the door for possible major corruption if those bills stay the way they are, the way they have already passed it in the lower house.
Yeah, and that's why I agree with Colin, Mr. Blair. You know, be a smart way Colin, me sit down and me listen to Colin and me have to give him a whole, me have to give him a fulsome approach. Because you know,
I understand. I understand that, Roach, and that is the difference between
with
we
Colin,
and the labor right them. You understand?
it's not so
That
much
there is
about
always
it's this transparency. So it don't make no sense. It comes back to the same thing what Colin is saying, Mr. Blair. All what you're saying is boiled down to what Colin is saying. So why sense you are go agree with something and something you're talking about reconstruction, but when you look at transparency, that is something where we have to sit down and think about. So what's the sense? So Colin is on target. I think Colin hit the goalpost. I completely in agreement with Colin. This NARA thing, it need to revisit. And it don't make no sense to me, Mr. Blair. No. It
Well,
gives the
Mr.
prime
Blair,
We're all on the same
I
page.
understand, Roach.
We're all on the
Mr.
same
Blair,
page.
so
Listen. I think the term NARA and the term reconstruction is being misconstrued. The PNP is not against reconstruction. It doesn't. We're not
right.
saying it has to be NARA. It could be us combining the agencies that we already have to
Yeah,
create
but
a reconstruction agent
The
program to
rebuilding,
rebuild.
exactly.
But
Right.
in focus, that has really been debated. Nobody would have fight against reconstruction. No.
Exactly.
Don't want to get this thing confused. Nobody is fighting against reconstruction. None of us here. No, but if you listen to what Colin is saying, it's about transparency and it's overlapping certain agencies. You have, Mr. Blair, you have agencies where already can go ahead and do whatever they're supposed to do. So why since the Prime Minister go create one executive agency where go give him full power? That not make no sense.
No, exactly.
That not make
That's
no
where
sense,
that's
Mr. Blair.
that is where
Nobody
the rubber
can
hit
trust
the
this
road.
Prime Minister. This Prime Minister is not certified. Nobody
Yeah,
can sit there and trust. No, you can't,
The Prime Minister is what we classified as a low trust individual.
Exactly.
And Jamaica is a low trust environment. You understand? It's similar to rubbing butter pan post mouth. You understand? And as Kizzy Dan said, here not growing on everybody hand. But Alex Jamaica, you had an next question.
So
Before Alex go, I need 5 second interjection. That point that you draw earlier, Mr. Blair, is a very
Yes.
important point for us to look at from the perspective of if you're a well-thinking Jamaican, if the Ministry of Finance, who was supposed to present documents to the Integrity Commission, to the Auditor
The
General to
auditor, right.
complete a comprehensive audit and has not provided those documents to date because we would have heard about it, right? How is it
Exactly.
NARA in moving with the speed that they say they want to move with? How is it that do you think, Alex, that they will be able to provide those documents when the Auditor General, if and when the Auditor General gets to do their audit? I don't think so. Because if NARA is as important as the document that the Ministry of Finance should have provided to the Auditor General, because you're spending taxpayer money still, right?
it's two different ways if you look on this whole narrative. You have the perspective of Jamaica. We see in a history coming right up to now. We always corruptions and scandals and all of them things, the imprint in Jamaica politics from back in the days come up to now. So I think the direction of them I try to use NARA for do is say, all right, seeing that we're focused on all of these committees and this, that oversight, we're carrying integrity commission, we're carrying a lot of stuff over the years. So I think the angle them I try to do is NARA is to say, all right, make we try to get things done. We need to create something to push Jamaica forward. We get some money off of this disaster, and we need to get some things and get things done faster. So with that said, now that I gonna have some issues with it. If you look at it with a magnifying glass, now you're gonna say, all right, well, if you want to get things done faster, then you're gonna have some holes where you're gonna need to plug. That is what NARA comes with. You understand? So it's a matter if the country wants to try this express thing to push forward, and we take our mind a little off, say, starting more committees, starting this, starting more bureaucracy and all of that. So that's my opinion of what NARRA is and what the direction is.
So Alex.
Alex, 1 second, Alex.
Go ahead.
All right. The example I cite with the Auditor General and the $3 trillion, I cite that, and I could cite the Minister of Agriculture saying that $800 million which were spent through the Ministry of Agriculture, and there is no documentation for it. And he said that the documents inadvertently are missing, but it was money well spent. We would not want a repeat of statements like those where NARRA is concerned. Those money and the $3 trillion were spent having the Integrity Commission, the Auditor General, the PAAC, and the PAC. We have all the institutions and all the committees were there, and they cannot give account for that money. So when you remove all of those committees now and spend trillions of dollars, what do you expect to happen?
Can I finish, Uncle Blair?
Yes, ma'am.
So Alex,
just one thing about what Floyd Green said